Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Lucy Heavens and I am VP of Marketing at Hokodo. So over the next 45 minutes, we're going to be looking at how to create a next generation marketplace. Just a couple of quick housekeeping items before we start. Firstly, the format for today's webinar is a panel discussion. So I'm going to be having a very informative chat with my amazing experts here with me today. We've allowed plenty of time for questions, so if you have them, please type them into the chat and we will address them as part of the conversation. And then finally, a recorded version of this webinar will be available and sent directly to your inbox after we've finished. So just to set the scene here, since the pandemic struck more than 3 years ago, the B2B e-commerce landscape has changed considerably. B2B e-commerce and B2B marketplaces in particular are now mainstream. Online sales in 2022 that took place on B2B marketplaces grew to $112 billion. That's double 2021 sales. In fact, according to Digital Commerce 360, the number of vertical B2B marketplaces has more than tripled since 2019. This is due to an increase in demand, with roughly 40% of businesses reporting that they now purchase as much as half of their goods and services through a marketplace. And then according to McKinsey, rather than seeing marketplaces as an afterthought, close to 1 in 5 B2B companies have already built a marketplace themselves, either directly or through partnerships. And another 60% are in the process of doing so. And as you may have heard, Gartner predicted that by 2025, 80% of B2B sales interactions between suppliers and buyers will occur on digital channels. So that marketplace share is only going to grow. It's only going to go up. So what's the secret to building a successful marketplace and gaining a share of that market opportunity? So this is what we're going to discuss today. And I am excited, like I said, to have a panel of fantastic experts to talk to me today. So I'd love the audience to hear a little bit about you all. So would you mind introducing yourself and telling us, a little bit of background on yourself? Derek, do you want to start?
Yeah, no, thank you, Lucy. Hello, everyone. I suppose I'm a bit of a payments dinosaur now. I'm over 20 years in the payments industry, so have been through a number of evolutions in the ecosystem and the landscape. I'm currently head of sales partnerships Europe for Mangopay, who are specialists in the two-way payments platform targeted specifically at marketplaces.
Fantastic, thank you. Cynthiana.
Yes, hello everybody. I'm Cynthiana Marianne. I'm Chief Digital Officer at Maisons&OBJET. I joined Maisons&OBJET in 2015 with the ambition to digitalize the traditional activity. And I manage a team that is structured on 4 main poles: user experience, IT, sales, and audience acquisition, which represents about 30 people.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Raf, over to you.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. So I'm Raf. I'm a Director of Strategic Projects and Partnerships at Hokodo. We are a B2B buy now, pay later provider embedded into e-commerce and marketplaces checkout experiences. And what I'm doing at Hokodo is to lead the partnership strategy, particularly with payment service providers like Mangopay, which is one of our amazing partners. E-commerce enablers like Miracle, or even banks like BNP Paribas and Citi, which are both partners of Hokodo.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Raf. Thanks, everybody. Cynthiana, I'm going to come to you first. Could you please tell us a little bit more about the fantastic marketplace Maison&OBJET that you've built?
Yes. Before, let me introduce you in a few words Maison&OBJET. Maison&OBJET is the leading trade fair in the decoration, design, and lifestyle industry that exists for almost 30 years. The trade fair takes place in Paris 2 times a year, in January and September, and we welcome around 2,000 exhibitors and 60,000 visitors from all over the world. So this is our traditional activity. It's a very nice trade fair. And since 2016, we released Mom, which is our online platform, with the objective to continue the traditional activity all year round. Since 2016, we have a business model based on the lead generation. And since 2 months, we released the marketplace part, which is the continuity of our lead generation business model for European buyers and sellers.
Okay, fantastic. That's a really, really interesting model. So it was built from the trade show, was the because my next question was actually going to be like kind of, well, what was the motivation? So you mentioned there about a lead generation tool. What was the kind of the motivation behind that? If you can tell me a little bit more.
At the beginning, our aim when we released the lead generation model, our aim was to give our community the possibility to pursue the business exchanges all year round and 365 days a year, because our community was very happy to meet and to do business twice a year. So why not give them the possibility to continue on all devices and all year round? And it's true that with the pandemics, the usage of digital has accelerated a lot. And we felt that our industry was ready to go to the next level, which is the transactional part. And this made us imagine a marketplace model that was actually an identified need from our customers.
Absolutely. So I mean, again, it's kind of, I love this. It's super, super interesting. You're taking that kind of, face-to-face sort of interactions and business that takes place. So for buyers that want to purchase on a B2B marketplace, obviously it's about kind of making that process as seamless and easy as it is in that face-to-face environment. So, on this front, what should kind of, in your eyes, what did you kind of consider that needed to be on that marketplace to serve the buyers and the sellers?
First of all, the main point was the user experience. The user experience that needs to be in accordance to the customer needs and to be as fluid as possible. So this is our main objective. And also, as we are in the design and decoration industry with very nice products, the user experience must actually show all the possibilities and all the beauty of the products and the story behind the products and behind the story of the brands.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really interesting. And then from a kind of, I suppose, from a sort of payments perspective, the way people pay for things is very different kind of face-to-face to online. How do you kind of, replicate or keep that kind of same experience? Like, what was your sort of process to looking at the different payment options that you would have on the digital marketplace?
That's a very interesting question, and just let me point out 2 points that, in my opinion, are very important. The first one is that when you build this platform, the main issue is to be customer centric. The most important part is to put the customer at the core of your activities and to build the online experience according to his needs, in order to adapt as much as possible to his business problems. This is the first point. And the second point that, in my opinion, is very important is that when you build a marketplace and the transactional model, is very important to address the payment issue at a very early stage of a project. Because sometimes it's great to think of the user experience is the most important part, but the payment methods are the very core part of these problems that must be addressed in advance. So what we considered, in addition to a scorecard, of course, with rational criteria in order to choose our payment partners, was in the same direction of being customer-centric, was to be able to have partners that match the first criteria that was to have a payment method and the BNPL method that are compatible, and also to have partners that will accompany us and that will provide us with support at every stage of the project. So this is why we are very happy today to have Okodo and Mangopay as partners. And for us, the release of the marketplace was a success. Of course, first of all, because we have powerful technological solutions, but also because in terms of partnership and customer support, we did the right choices.
Absolutely. I think, in that kind of face-to-face environment, if you are like in the B2B world, obviously purchases are, much, much higher in value. And if you are face-to-face, you can have that conversation beforehand and say, what payment options are you going to be able to, provide to me? Can I pay in installments? Can I defer payment? But there's nothing more frustrating, I suppose, that going on to kind of a website and having that kind of whole interaction, really great interaction with them, and then coming to the end and sort of realizing that there's only one payment option, which is just pay everything now, which is not normally the way businesses like to pay. So it was good that that consideration was done up front, on your part. And one of the things I'm interested in actually is that in the marketplace model, you don't just have your, you're not just kind of selling something direct to the buyers. You've got that, another party involved. So you have your sellers and your buyers. How did you you said about putting the buyers kind of at the center, the customers at the center of everything. How did you do that with that model of okay, here's what the sellers need, here's what the buyers need? Does that make sense?
Yes, of course. But when I think customer centric, I'm not only thinking about buyers, because we have two customers. We have the brands and the buyers. And being customer centric doesn't necessarily mean being buyer-oriented only. It is very important, and the payment solutions are part of this. It is very important to think of both. And what happens normally is that if you made the right choices and if you ask yourself the right questions, the benefits for the buyers have a correspondence on the brand side.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally.
And Derek, I think that's a great point, and I'm a big fan of this vision of considering sellers as a customer as well. In the context of a marketplace, the acquisition of seller is as important as the acquisition of buyers. Definitely. And I mentioned, the payment proposition is part of this. It's important to offer sensible payment methods to your buyers, but at the same time, sellers, they want to be paid. They want to make sure that they will be paid, and they will be paid on time. So considering all these kind of factors when you start building your marketplace is absolutely critical. We've seen so many marketplaces, so many players launching marketplaces, but failing to scale because they kind of tended to focus on the buyers only and not on the sellers. Without sellers, there is no marketplaces, there is no product catalog, there is no buyer. So it's a great point that you're making.
Absolutely. I think, ultimately kind of every payment method, it kind of has its pros and cons, right? But it's the fact that kind of forcing, a certain payment method that's not right for either the buyer or a seller can make the difference between, business and a lost sale, basically. So, Derek, I'm interested to hear from your point of view, what's your kind of view on thinking about that kind of payment journey and how important it is?
It's a really interesting question. I think MAISON&OBJET are an interesting point in case, because it was very clear throughout their focus was having a robust payment journey. This, however, isn't replicated, certainly with a lot of the research that Mangopay do and the clients that we talk to. So many B2B marketplaces think about platform first, and payments is almost an afterthought. And we've already heard a few great examples today of why that really should be foundational when you start mapping out and planning. If you think about the reason for wanting a marketplace, which is threefold, isn't it? As a marketplace, you want to commercialize the opportunity, you want to make revenue from that, you want to promote your brand, you want that customer experience from a buyer and seller perspective. But equally, you need to be clear, you need to be confident on how the funds are going to come in and how they're going to go back out again the other side. So I think, you know, to leave that to the end is potentially very dangerous. And then back to that customer sort of centricity in terms of what they're looking for. The payment terms and the payment options are vital. You're not going to attract the right type of customer, the right volume of customer, if you don't have the right solutions at launch. So I think getting everything lined up before and early is absolutely vital.
Absolutely. I'm interested actually to know, so Cynthiana, going back to kind of when you were putting the kind of the marketplace together, how did you know what payment methods to offer to the sellers and the buyers?
As I mentioned, first, what we wanted is to have a payment solution and a BNPL solution that can work together. And we also wanted to make sure that the platform providing the marketplace, which is provided by Eurocommerce, was comfortable in working with its partners. So this came after, of course, a rational step of a scorecard with a lot of criteria, you know, to evaluate our potential partners. But above all, what we wanted is to have partners with whom the project development matched. And this was very important because what we released actually is not only a marketplace. We released a transactional program with 3 sales channels. So we have a quite important team in terms of people involved in the project. In terms of IT, we had developers from 3 different enterprises, both internal and external. And the project management part and the human part was very important for us, because when you release a project, is not only about, of course, the first step was the rational criteria, as I mentioned, and the scorecard with criteria in order to make sure that we have the right partners on the short list. But above all, a project and releasing this kind of project is a human adventure. And in order for the project development and for the release to go smoothly, although it never goes smoothly, but you know, you cross your fingers and you do your best, it was very important to choose partners who share the same vision in terms of customer-centric and why we do this, and also in terms of project management and how the team is managed into the project development.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. I love that. And so you were looking for partners specifically that I suppose like were already kind of had that connection and kind of knew how to work with each other.
Yes, and to work with each other and to work with us and with whom all the parts in the project, the BNPL part, the payment part, the technical solution of the marketplace, our team, people from external enterprises, that all these people could match together in order to release the project.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like in any business, right? The kind of collaboration with all of the functions and the teams is what, makes the engine go. It's you can have like this really amazing piece of technology, but if the people aren't right, it's not going to work. I love that.
It's particularly true in the e-commerce and marketplace ecosystem. It's kind of an ecosystem play. We need to be all together in this journey. The e-commerce platform, so the enabler like Eurocommerce, which is actually also a partner of Okodo, the PSP, which is Mangopay, the pay later provider Okodo, but also the other providers, the shipping solution, the product catalog management, etc., etc. And I think it's we all benefit in kind of joining forces to make sure that the project is scalable and meet the customer or the user's expectations. Launching a marketplace is a complex project. It's a super complex project. It takes time, it takes energy, and so you need to identify players who already know how to work together. And I think that's absolutely critical. And the beauty of the Maisons&Objets story is that out of this project, we actually signed a partnership with Eurocommerce thanks to MAISON&OBJET. So we didn't have this partnership before. We knew each other. We knew how to work together. But well, it was something happened, and yeah, it's kind of the beauty of the ecosystem we are developing in.
Fantastic. Derek, I have a question for you. So, I mean, a marketplace then, if they're just setting up, or even actually if they're already set up, but they're looking to kind of really grow their business, what is it that they should be looking for from a kind of a payment provider then to serve both the kind of the buyers and the sellers?
There's a few points actually, I think, Lucy. One that's already been alluded to by Cinziana: flexibility. I think when you're looking for your payment partner, you need a partner who you can scale with, you can grow with together, but equally that you're not having to fit your platform, your project into the platform of the payment provider. So it's flexible, it's modular, so you can pick and choose what you need instantly, what you need in the future, what you need in the longer term. And I think more importantly, that you've got the ability to customize those solutions and adapt them to the unique needs of any individual marketplace. In this case, MAISON&OBJET. We've mentioned payment methods. Of course, there is far greater demand now for a wider range of payment methods, and the fact that we've had Ocado and MAISON&OBJET and Mangopay being able to sort of pull all of this together has proven how important this is. You then look at the added complexity of marketplace when you think around the need for a sort of a seamless and a secure payment processing. So you think about the compliance, the impact of cross-border transactions, fraud prevention, fraud management. You then move into that whole space around the importance of seller onboarding, the verification of the sellers, the KYC, the KYB, and then equally and just as important is that technical assistance in the build through the project, somebody on hand to support you in your journey, and more importantly than anything else is a responsive customer service team. Yes. to make sure that everything runs as smoothly as it can do. But I would say, a good half a dozen points there, equally important, given the complexity of marketplace build.
Yes, I completely agree. And I just wanted to mention that in these cases of complex transactional programs that for which we work like 1 year, very intensely, sometimes we forget that a project doesn't end at the release moment. In that very moment, everything starts. So as you mentioned, it's very important. As you mentioned, Derek, it's very important the technical support and the support you have afterwards for all the stakeholders of the project and from all your partners, because this is where the project actually starts. And in the B2B field, it's very important. It's even more important, the loyalty of the customers, and what everybody wants on a marketplace is repeat. And in order to do that, you must provide a good experience, and the payment solutions are the core subject of the good experience, because it's also a label of trust.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely. Yeah. I did a webinar recently where actually I think it's the Latin word for credit is, or it comes from the Latin word, which is credere, which means trust, actually. So yeah, there's definitely trust built into the kind of the trade credit. On the trade credit side, Raf, I have a question for you. So buyers for trade credit outside of kind of the digital marketplace, they normally have to go through this kind of, very slow and tedious kind of approval process with lots of manual forms filling in to get credit, with lots of manual credit checks and that sort of thing. And if it takes too long to get approved, then, obviously buyers are just going to go elsewhere, right? And I read somewhere that 90% of B2B buyers would turn to a competitor if the supplier's digital channel couldn't keep up with their needs. So massive losses there. So can you give us a little bit of sort of your thoughts on why offering like trade credit, like payment terms, is a must for B2B marketplaces?
Yeah, well, I think as you mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, online B2B trade is growing like very, very quickly. You mentioned some very interesting stats. I was reading that pre-COVID, it was like doubling every 5 years. Now it's like doubling every year. And we are seeing a massive adoption, a massive shift from offline to online in B2B. And MAISON&OBJET is the best example. They've been pioneer in digitalizing trades, embracing different models from pure e-commerce to online fair and to marketplaces. But today, the payment methods offered to B2B customers are not always adapted or sensible to B2B customer needs. i.e., you expect to pay on terms, you expect to get payment terms. That's particularly true if you are a medium-sized company or a large company, because you always have access to payment terms for your offline business, namely the pay by invoice. You trade, you go on shop or in a warehouse, and you have access to a pay in 30 days or in 60 days or whatever. And I think that's also true if you're a small business or even a micro business. And actually, I think you benefit even more from it, even more from payment terms if you are quite small, because it will help you better manage your cash flow. And that's how B2B works. And I think so as a business owner, you need visibility, you need predictability on your cash flow, because you need to get paid by your customers who might also benefit from payment terms actually, and you need also to cover your operational expenditures. So it's quite a virtuous circle to grant payment terms. And if we step back, we know that 60% of B2B trade currently takes place on credit terms. And obviously, it's massively influenced by the offline world where trade credit already exists. So payment terms are today the first source of financing for businesses. So if you want to be sensible in this space, if you want to build a comprehensive solution for B2B buyers and sellers, you need to embrace payment terms. You need to offer payment terms on your marketplace. And I quite like the vision or the fact, or I like to see marketplaces as a way to democratize B2B trade. It makes B2B trade more fluid, more accessible to every kind of businesses. Now even the sole trader can buy to the very, very large company, which is not always the case even in the offline world. But if you want to complete your democratization journey, you need to give your buyers access to proper payment terms, because they want to access payment terms. They want to access payment terms through any channels, even on first purchase, which is why marketplaces need to find the best way to offer this to buyers. I think at the end of the day, it will contribute to provide trust to an environment where trust doesn't always exist, or actually buyers and sellers need to know each other, and because everything happens online, you don't always know who is behind the screen, So obviously, as a seller, you don't really want to give payment terms to buyers you don't know. So kind of that's where marketplace operators have a role to play, building a trust environment, a safe environment to trade. And I think payment terms are kind of can be part of it, or at least contribute to providing trust to this environment. And at the end of the day, they will benefit from it, because it will offer a better purchasing experience. It will offer increased acceptance rate to buyers, and it will drive revenue to the platform. Higher revenue, working capital relief and protection, and I think overall a reduced operational burden for finance, sales, collection, and many other teams. So it's quite, I think it's quite key actually.
Absolutely. Cynthiana, I have two questions for you. So one of them is were the buyers and the sellers using kind of payment terms, for the trade show, for the offline world? But before you answer that, I have a second sort of part to that question. And Raf, if you were in the same room as me, you'd probably kick me under the table for asking this, but why not build it yourself as Chief Digital Officer? Why make that decision to kind of outsource, the kind of offering trade credit? Why not build something yourself?
Yes, it's a very good question, but I just wanted to mention something in addition to what Rafael said, and it's very important because before starting the project, we conducted a lot of surveys. This is a major thing for us. So we conducted a lot of surveys, both quantitative and qualitative. And what we identify as insight of our customers is that the biggest fear in doing an online transaction is that they don't trust the suppliers. Wow. This is very important. In the face-to-face part, the thing of seeing someone in face-to-face, having the possibility to exchange, to chat with the person is a huge step. In the digital, it's a bit more complicated, even if we can imagine a lot of solutions as chat, but the trust is the major issue. And this is why we thought that, as I said, the payment solutions must be a label of trust. And we wouldn't want to build payment solution. What we wanted to do is to search this expertise on the market where it already is. And for Okodo, I was really impressed when I saw the first demo of the principle, because they have years and years of research with a lot of sophisticated algorithms. Our aim is to provide our customers with the best user experience possible. And this is why in our vision, we wanted to have the best partners and the experts on each field in order to be able to do that, because our job is to put them in contact and give them the possibility to buy. We are not a financial enterprise.
Yeah. No, that answers my question perfectly. Thank you very much. Rafa, kind of coming back to you then, sort of along the same lines, as if there was a marketplace that was considering then, offering kind of payment terms, maybe they have an already established marketplace, but what should they be considering?
Well, buy now, pay later, or trade credit or payment terms, whatever you want to call them, they have always existed in B2B. They mentioned in the offline world, it's quite standard, but it has been designed for the offline world. It has never really been adapted to the online experiences until now. But it's not trivial to build a comprehensive trade credit solution. And it's particularly not trivial to build it for the online world, where everything needs to be instant. There is a completely new paradigm, in this kind of online world, and user experience is key. And to grant payment terms, if we try to break down a bit the value proposition, you need to first assess the creditworthiness of your buyers, of your customers. You need to finance the transactions. You need to protect yourself against the risk of non-payment or fraud, and you need to have quite good collection capabilities as people don't pay on time. But because you want to make it accessible for the e-commerce and marketplace experiences, you need to provide all these capabilities instantly. So when you build an e-commerce solution, and Cinziana, you mentioned it very well, the most critical requirement is to make the experience as smooth as possible. As soon as you inject a pinch of friction, you take the risk of losing the customer. So I'd say when you think about building your own trade credit solution or granting payment terms, there are multiple factors that you need to take into account. The first one is probably you need to ask yourself, do you really want to offer in-house payment terms? Do you have the capabilities to do it? Or do you have the capabilities to build these capabilities, if I can say? As I said before, the trade credit solution can be extremely fruitful for the marketplace operator. It brings extra revenues and stickiness to the platform. But that's true if and only if they are well implemented, well executed. So when deciding whether to take the trade credit management process in-house or to outsource it, I think a marketplace should consider several factors. First of all, the cost of building the solution. Because if you want to build the solution, you need to, as I mentioned, get credit scores. You need to finance the transaction when appropriate, or at least you need to assess the impact it can have on your cash flow. You potentially need to take a credit insurance policy. You need to set up a credit management and collection team for massive labor costs. And you need to compare this cost with the cost of outsourcing, this proposition. Then the criteria number 2 is probably the ease of implementation. And I think it's kind of linked with the third criteria, which is the user experience. To what extent you are able to build a seamless credit solution fully embedded into your payment experience, fully embedded into your checkout experience. If you can do it, if you already have all these capabilities in our credit management, etc., then you need to you can do it yourself. But I think in the context of marketplaces, where marketplaces are relevant if and only if they onboard many buyers and many sellers, well, you don't really want to deal with this painful process of kind of credit checking, thousands of buyers, or KYCing thousands of sellers, and that's kind of the job of Mangopay. There are players doing this kind of very nicely. So I think you really need to question yourself, what do I want to focus on? Do I want to focus my energy on building my business, on acquiring buyers, sellers, building the marketplace, building the product catalog, or do I want to do everything and take the risk of not doing it properly? And I'm not saying that you can't do it, but I think you really need to go through this kind of exercise of understanding what it means to build such a solution, and if you are ready to go through this journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know the exact number of years, but it took Amazon years, obviously, to kind of build up their marketplace and then launch the financial product. And that's with a brand name that they have, a worldwide trusted brand name. So
I think Amazon is quite a good example. They are one of the few players with a very strong in-house culture. They try to build everything in-house. They even built their own kind of marketplace infrastructure. They build their own payment method and etc. Their shipping, etc. But they started doing it at a certain stage of development. And now they are so massive. Yes, they have, amazing capabilities, and because they are Amazon, they can also leverage some partners if needed. But they are doing it because they are big.
Yeah.
I think initially, when you want to focus on growth, on scaling your business, well, maybe you need to focus on scaling the core part of your value proposition.
Yes, of course. And especially because, for example, in the case of Maisons&OBJET, we are an enterprise of 100 people. So we are not, we are a medium enterprise. We are not a big enterprise. And also, I wanted to mention that the first thing before starting any kind of program like this one, the most important is to have a solid business case. And having a solid business case involves a lot of issues, both in terms of people, in terms of build, in terms of run, in terms of technical solution, in terms of support, etc. And more you add a new project on the core of the development, the more risk you take. Because releasing a marketplace, even with the best partner, is already a really complex task.
Yeah, absolutely. Derek, I wanted to pick up on something that you mentioned earlier. We're talking a lot about kind of, growth and with the kind of the whole marketplace model, you've got this huge opportunity with the platform to, to grow globally and start to enter new markets, and you can do it at a rate where you can kind of test the market and then kind of pull out, if you need to, which is really great from a platform point of view, and taking that core competency of being a marketplace into consideration, of course. But from a payments perspective, you were talking about kind of compliance and cross-border sort of payments. Can you sort of talk to me a little bit more about, the complexities around that and why it's important to kind of work with the right provider on that?
I think that the first thing to say here is it's very easy to get it wrong. And the impact of getting something like the compliance of a website, a marketplace, to not manage your fraud can impact you as a marketplace financially, can impact you from a reputational standpoint. The regulators, continue, and the likes of Visa and MasterCard continue to expand the rules and regulations around compliance, with PSD3 on the horizon, with the ever sort of strictening of the SCA regulation, to have an expert in your corner guiding you through the complexities of that process, making sure you don't fall foul of fraud or fines or bad reputation, I think is just as important to the sellers, to the buyers, as any other payment method. I think it's absolutely crucial.
Absolutely. Just we're coming up in the last few minutes, and I've got kind of a little bit of a pop quiz for each of you. But so I'm going to ask a question. So we talked, one word that just kept coming up, for everybody here today, I think, was about trust. It's about building trust. So thinking about kind of the subject of the webinar that we have today, which is about building that next generation marketplace, what is the one thing that you would suggest that you can do to kind of build the trust up to make the marketplace a success? Who wants to go first?
Yeah, I'm happy to tackle that one first.
Go on then.
I think, look, trust comes in many different guises, doesn't it? I think you've got the trust of the partners engaged in the MAISON&OBJET project. You've got Oro, you've got Hokodo, and you've got Mangopay. So I think, vital that we all trust each other as companies and our capabilities and what we're there to deliver. Trust from the buyer and seller perspective that MAISON&OBJET will deliver a marketplace that is compliant, that offers their full range of services, and trust within MAISON&OBJET about the importance of the work that Cinziana has been doing in building this marketplace. So I think it comes in many different shapes and sizes.
Thank you.
Yes, I totally agree. For us, the label of trust comes at multiple levels. The first one is that the very core of the platform, which is called MOM, is Maison&Objet and more. So this means that we are part of Maison&Objet, but we are all year round platform with a digital experience all year round, but we have the Maison&Objet label. This means that in terms of offer, we provide a qualitative offer, and this is the first label of trust. In terms of user experience, this doesn't mean it is perfect, but we do our best to provide our customers with the best user experience, and this, of course, we measure it in the conversion rate, and what we aim is that MOM become the trustful marketplace, B2B marketplace in terms of user experience. And also, and what is very important for me, and we haven't mentioned it, is in terms of customer service for the brands and for the buyers, which is a very important part, because especially in the B2B, people need support, because the B2B online transaction is something very new that was accelerated by the COVID, and that we know that a few years before, our industry was not ready for it. Now we embraced it, but this doesn't mean that our stakeholders don't need the support. So this is a major issue for us. This is why we aim to provide a good level in terms of customer service, and we also have an in-house team of customer success manager that represent the support for both the vendors and the buyers of the marketplace, and this is very important for us.
Fantastic, love that. Thank you very much. Raf, very quick comment.
Just very briefly, I think I wanted to actually echo what Cinziana said before. Launching a marketplace is not the end game, just step one. Then growing the marketplace is the most critical part. And to grow the marketplace, and again, echoing what Cinziana said, care is one of the most critical elements. You need to foster this trust environment, this safe environment, and you need to care about your buyers, about your sellers. You need to keep enhancing the value proposition, adding more and more services, listening to what they need, to what they want, and it goes with a proper customer support or seller support. So I think it's also one of the key elements that you need to invest in quite early in the journey, in the process, so you make sure your marketplace grows nicely.
Fantastic. That's brilliant. Thank you so much. Just to wrap up, there was 4 kind of key points that I think I took up, a point that I picked up straight away out of the conversation. So one of them is build the marketplace based on trust, work with the right partners, have that kind of growth mindset, right from the start, and always remember it's about kind of offering the best service. Did I miss anything?
That's right. Pretty nicely.
Lovely. That's great. Oh my goodness, we could have talked for another hour. That was fantastic. Thank you so much. You were all really, really fantastic in your input. So thank you. And I hope the audience enjoyed it as much as I did. So thank you very much to the speakers. Thank you to the audience, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much.